It's about that time of day again here, boys and girls. Welcome back, welcome back. My name is Joseph James. SidewaysMarkets.com is our blog. School of Trade is our web address. Welcome back to your nightly newsletter for Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014. Boy, markets are still worried about this global turmoil right now. We got some great news today out of the Red Star News in the calendar. That helped push the E-minis. Boy, S&P almost right back to all-time highs. Amazing how these equity markets are just holding on tight here right now at these all-time highs. Gold still trading sideways here, right? It's sure as ever. And boy, crude oil, what's going on? Are we starting to see some backing off of the fear-mongering? It almost feels like people had forgotten about this whole airplane bombing last week. It'd be interesting here. As I'm recording here tonight, crude sitting at 102. Are we going to see 100 again this week? I don't know. We'll have to stick around and see what tonight's newsletter has in store for us. We have a jam-packed newsletter for you guys this evening. We're going to first take a look at what happened today. We'll then take a look at the schedule for tomorrow, and then you know me, I'm going to save the best for last. We're going to roll up our sleeves, grab our charts, and look at gold, crude, and Russell. And tomorrow you will be ready no matter whether the markets go higher, go lower, or go sideways, right? What do you think about that? Sound like a pretty good plan for tonight? All right. Now, before we jump into our charts here today and talk about what happened today, I do want to remind you guys and gals, you got to get over here to SidewaysMarkets.com. If you're not watching this video right now on our blog, you really should be. There's a video link. There's a link below the video if you're watching this on our YouTube page right now. Follow that link below the video on the YouTube page. Get over here to Sideways Markets for 3 specific reasons. First of all, right below today's video, you can download all of the charts and all the commentary for today. All right, so below today's video, you can download all the charts that you're going to see me using here this evening. Okay, so pause the video, go right below the video on our blog at Sideways Markets and download a copy of those charts. That way you're ready to join me tomorrow in our live trade room. Second thing here, upper left-hand corner, I've got a special invitation for you, boys and girls. Maybe you're wondering, how do we use this information from our nightly newsletter? How do we use it to make profit? You've obviously seen many times here how we have nailed, right, these very easy, well, I think they're pretty easy. You may not, right? We'll have to see what happens. But I think they're pretty easy. Trade calls, right? We've given you dozens, hundreds of profitable trading opportunities in the year 2014, and we're going to keep on doing it. If you want to see how we use these to make profit every day, upper left-hand corner, I have a special invitation for you to come out and join me in my live trade room as a guest. And then lower left-hand corner, right above my ugly mug, I want to get your name and your email address so I can send you a copy of this newsletter every evening before 8 o'clock when it gets posted. That's right. You no longer have to go hovering around the YouTube page or reloading the blog page to see when it gets posted. I'll email you right when the newsletter is released every evening. So 3 things here on the website, on the blog. 1, download the charts here by clicking the link below the video. 2, free pass, upper left-hand corner. And 3, look for my ugly mug. And right above, give me your name and email address. Register for our very, very popular nightly newsletter. All righty? You get your helmet on, mouth guard, seatbelts fastened. Right? You have your organic chia seeds and green tea. You ready to rock and roll? All right, let's kick some butt. Moving on. What happened today? Well, again, markets still worried, I think, about global violence. But, you know, worried is maybe not worried. You know, boy, with a passenger airplane being shot out of the sky by accident, right, being fueled by separatist militants receiving missiles and tanks from Russia, doesn't scare anybody out there, I guess, right now. I know. Blows my mind, but apparently everybody says, well, you know, I mean, come on, everybody make mistakes. Very, very surprised. Very surprised. Color me surprised. All right? We've had troops going into Ukraine a few months ago do worse than this. Let me just repeat this. We shot a passenger. No, we didn't. We know who did. They shot a passenger airliner out of the sky. I must be missing something, right? Maybe I'm not. I'm just a lonely old day trader, but I was expecting a whole lot more than this. Maybe it's blaming on the summer, right? Maybe everybody's, huffing too much of the SPF fumes this past few weeks. Maybe they got sand stuck in their ears, right? Or, the water in their ear. I don't know. But very, very surprised right now that we're not seeing more volatility. It feels a little bit like everybody's sitting on the sidelines a little bit right now. Volumes were down, but not that bad right now. The volumes weren't down that bad. I think the NYSE volume was down about 8% today. So maybe it's a little bit blaming on the summer. Maybe everybody's waiting to see what happens next. But boy, considering the facts, and the facts are, right, the death toll being over 250 people on that airliner, it really surprises me. I'll tell you right now, if I was a family member, right, of the deceased on that airplane, I would be pretty frustrated right now with the way this all seems to be going right now. Everybody seems to be okay. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. We'll see what the news comes out next. I'll tell you, interesting world we live in right now. So everybody apparently waiting to hear what's happening next right now. There was a ton of bullish Red Star news today for the equity markets. Existing home sales kept on trucking along. Some very, very tame inflation today out of the consumer price index at 830. So I'll tell you, besides this issue happening in the Middle East right now, everything else is looking awesome, right? We got great economic news coming out in the U.S. We've heard very, very strong news coming out of Europe. The euro seems to keep dropping. That's what they want right now out of the ECB. So it doesn't look like there's anything really wrong out there except for this lingering issue, right, of this senseless violence that up until last week was only killers killing killers, right? Until last week, and killers started killing regular people. And that's just, again, I was surprised that we didn't see more, reaction. Surprised we don't see more on the headlines right now. All right? Anyways, moving forward, taking a look at what happened here today on gold. I know. A little bit of a yawner here today on the gold. We continue to see here, as we zoom in on these daily candles, we continue to see here big wicks, small bodies, right? Very balanced. You can see us right just hovering above that 1300. Not a lot has changed here on gold since the last time we spoke about 24 hours ago. You can see we are kind of grinding lower here, right? We got some lower highs. We got finally some lower lows here. We're starting to see some bearishness here, and that really is, remember, the wisdom of crowds, the wisdom hidden inside of this current price. With that lower low and lower high here, we hadn't seen a lower low in a few days. So remember how I said yesterday, the fact that gold was stuck right in the middle said they were waiting for something, right? Remember last night, right? I said gold stuck in the middle, right? Higher lows, lower highs, right? We were waiting on something. Well, now we're starting to see some lower lows, lower highs. So if this tells us anything, what I was just talking about, right? Feeling like people have forgotten about this global violence issue right now. Feels like they have. Feels like they've maybe not forgotten about it, but have moved on to something else, right? Gold wouldn't be making lower lows if everything was all peachy keen, right, as far as the eyes of traders go. So very accurate finger on the pulse right now. We still have some analysis paralysis. You can definitely tell we're still dealing with this chop and slop right now on gold. So I'm still going to recommend here, until we see a pulse, until we see a personality, I'm still going to recommend here buying these lows, selling these highs, right? Pretty much the same scenario we've been talking about on gold here for the past week and a half here. So I got sell zones overhead, looking to sell those highs, buy zones below, looking to buy those lows, right? Until we grow a personality here. That's my plan here on the gold. And you can see here, get a little bit more, right? A little bit more accurate look here. If I zoom in a little bit closer on this, you can see we still have that price wedge, right? We still got that trend line at the low, trailing off the highs, right? But again, you can see, right, there's my lower lows here, my lower highs. So we are getting that slight bearishness, right, that slight bearish tone to this price action. So what you can do with this is you can say, okay, if we got lower highs and lower lows, I still want to buy lows and sell highs, but I'm going to err on the side of caution, and I'm only going to sell highs. right? So that'd be one way here to adapt to what you're seeing right now. Honestly, though, I think you'll be okay. I think we can buy those lows, right? 1299.8. We can sell these highs. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. Just be aware, though, right now, gold is trading in a narrow range. Very obvious here. We are balanced, slightly tilted to the downside. So if you do want to err on the side of the bears, right, be my guest. But again, I'll be looking to buy lows as the price goes lower, be looking to sell highs as price goes higher until something changes. And that's a very good thing I want to remind you about, which is at any moment right now, we could hear about that next shoe to drop, right? They're working on sanctions right now for Russia. I'll tell you, really disappointing to hear the ECB comment today about Russia, saying that they didn't think any more sanctions were needed. And I quote, that they wanted to spare the Russian economy. Well, I'm so pleased to hear that we're worrying about the Russian economy here when hundreds of people perished in that passenger. It baffles me. It absolutely baffles me, right? All in the name of capitalism? Really? And we think that Russia's economy is important for what again? For cold water? I don't get it. I don't get it. It doesn't make much sense to me, and oftentimes when things don't make much sense, it tells me there's opportunity coming. All right? If you look at this world out there and things don't make sense, you look at your charts. They still don't make any sense. Guess what? Something big's coming, right? Big opportunities are coming. All right? But I'll definitely tell you, man, it really kind of twisted the knife a little bit when I heard them say this morning they wanted to spare the Russian economy. Please, I wouldn't want to see any damage being done. Incredible. Are you with me on that? If you're with me on that, give me a comment below the video here today. I'd like to know if I'm the only person out there that found that to be a little bit insulting. Anyways, keep on moving here. I've got my range-bound market, buying lows, selling highs, but again, keep your eyes and ears open, all right? Because this type of environment on gold will be the first market that will take off to the upside if more fear comes into the market, and it probably will go higher faster than it will go lower. Right? That fear issue kicks in. So just be aware. If you want to see real-time updates of me tomorrow, come in and join me tomorrow morning in my trade room, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and I'll give you guys the skinny on gold going forward tomorrow. Now you know my plan, though, going forward. But again, I know on gold this can change at any moment with this whole lingering effects, right, of the issue happening in the Middle East right now. Moving forward, though. On to the mighty mini Russell. Now the small caps here, remember the Russell's going to be the small companies, right? S&P is going to be the big companies. All right. So we got the S&P pushed right back to its all-time highs today. Very, very strong news we had this morning at 8:30 from the CPI, 10 o'clock existing home sales. Now of course, new home sales, right? Pending home sales, those are the ones that have been getting their butts kicked. Existing home sales, though, seem to be on a record pace right now and really giving us a lot of confidence here in this U.S. economy starting to heat back up again. We know we have the Russell stuck in the mud right now. I've been talking about that all week this week. Right, we got a key moving average above, a key moving average below, just stuck, right? We are stuck right here. We got kind of beat up here earlier this month, right, from this, of course, issue with the passenger airliner. We, of course, then have seen this price rebound here and try to make a run for it here, right? Bullish news came out of the U.S. this morning. Definitely not going to hurt the Russell, but definitely if you're a mid-cap trader or if you are a Russell trader right now, we are definitely not as bullish, right, as the E-mini counterparts like the NASDAQ and the S&P, who are flirting with all-time highs at all times right now. So right now in the Russell, I am aware that we have a transitional area right now on the Russell. I got resistance above, support below, right? And again, we're kind of stuck right in the mud here on this Russell. Today was a big up day, and many of us thought that today was going to be one of those days where we were immediately thrust into bullish territory here. And so I go to my anchor chart here right now, my 32 anchor, and the first thing I see is not so fast, right? Not so fast. We're not out of the bear woods, right? Not out of the woods yet for the bears here, so as far as they're concerned. Remember, we have some symmetry up top here at this, I had called it 53 today from last night, right? Last night's newsletter, I was calling it 53. So you got to remember, these areas of resistance and support are areas where we expect traders to react. So 53 becomes 54. They reacted at 54.5, right? So relatively close to what I was thinking was the case. And you can see all the way up at the top of this channel. So we definitely aren't out of the woods yet, right? I would love to think, though, that now we're going to be back to the buy side here going higher, which we definitely may be. But I've got a really hard time right now saying I'm bullish because, like I said before, on that daily chart, we're clearly in transition, right? We're clearly in a very transitional area, and this could go either way right now here as far as I'm concerned, the Russell. Remember, this channel goes all the way from those highs here, right? Because it goes back a few weeks here. So we are looking, again, transitional here would be the word I describe it with, right? Transitional. Now, right now, I'm going to show you in a second here how we have some buying opportunities right now, all right? But we are right at the tipping point here. We are right at the tipping point right now. You're going to see on the next chart here how if we don't get these buyers to react now, all right, we are going to be in store here most likely for prices to tumble, all right? So I've got really at this point here, I'm looking to be a seller here on the Russell. Now, again, on the next chart, though, it's going to show us some opportunities to buy right now. So if you're saying, you're crazy, Joe, for being a seller, I'm just saying what the chart tells me right now. And right now, the chart does not tell me here to be that bullish. It does tell me we're above the key moving averages. It does tell me here we're making higher highs and we got some higher lows. But what it also tells me is we're going right into symmetry at the top of this channel. So I'm expecting here to see these buyers fail going into tomorrow, right? I know, not very patriotic on my part, but that's what this chart is telling me right now. Now, of course, we may see some news come out tomorrow morning that may change that. So between now and tomorrow morning at 9:30, we'll be keeping our eyes and ears open. But looking for a sell right now, though, I've got sellers targets below. I got 40.1, 34.9. I've got 30.1, 22.7, and I've got this low of the channel down here, right, as our final target. Now, what I want you to remember this number right here, 34.9, all right, 34.9, everything here is going to be a transitional area, all right? It doesn't look as bullish as we might think, okay, but it certainly isn't quite as bearish as this chart has us to believe. And what I'm going to show you here next is I'm going to show you why this Russell is really difficult to pin down right now. So first of all, what if price goes higher? If price goes higher, we are above all the key moving averages. So if these buyers are here, if we see more buyers on the tape this evening, overnight, into tomorrow, we will be back to buying here. Remember, we got some great Red Star news. We got some great news this morning. Very obvious here. The other E-mini markets, right, the NQ, the ES, they've all pushed back to all-time highs. So the Russell is the little engine that could here. A little bit late to the party, but hopefully the Russell will also follow suit, right? I wouldn't mind seeing price go higher here either. I don't care what direction it goes in right now, but it's very difficult for me to say confidently whether we're bullish or bearish. I've got 1160.1. I've got 66.7, I've got 69 even, 77.1, and 78.2. All right, once again here, I've got a number of levels here overhead that we'll be using here as profit targets if these buyers are as strong as they were today, right? The buyers were very strong today, coming in off a queue from Asia into Europe, and then, of course, that fuel was added to the fire here in the U.S. with those Red Star news events at 8:30. So the buyers were definitely in control today. Will they continue into tomorrow? If they do, you've got your targets waiting for you overhead. If they do not continue in tomorrow, right? If we happen to have a little bit of a pullback here, I'm expecting this area right here to be a transitional area. Once I get below 34.9, then I'm green light, right, to the sell side here. I've got sellers targets on the way down, all right? So if and when we get short tomorrow morning, I've got my targets waiting for me here tomorrow, all right? I've got to err on the side of caution to be a seller at this time, but here is my 16 anchor chart on the Russell, and this will probably give you a little bit more information here as far as what I was saying earlier. Now you can see we have that short-term bullish channel, You can see in the past here, we jump up, we pull all the way back. Same thing here. Jump up, pull all the way back. But here's where those buyers have their work cut out for them. We've got this 46.2 and 43.5. You've also got 44.5 hidden inside of there, and then 43 even for some symmetry. As far as I'm concerned, we're still bullish here until we see this area fail. All right, so we're still bullish here on the Rusty until we fail. Okay, so once I get below 1143 down to 34.9, this is going to be your disaster zone tomorrow. If we don't get through it quickly, it's probably going to be a little bit sloppy and choppy in this transitional area here. But once I get below 34.9, then I can get back to the sell side here with a lot more confidence. What's happened this week is we've had the reaction to, of course, Obama on Monday, Red Star News on Tuesday. We pretty much tanked on Friday, right? Selling off on Friday. We had a little bit of analysis paralysis on Monday with Obama on the microphone in front of the White House talking about the Malaysian airliner bombing. And then, of course, here today, we got a big bullish boost from Europe. And then, of course, the fuel continued in the U.S. with news. We need to see if that bullishness is going to continue into tomorrow. I will definitely be looking to buy this 43, this 46, right, 44 half, and 43. But once we get below that 43, 1143, once we get below 43, now it's on like Donkey Kong here. The buyers and the sellers are going to get into a fist fight here. So tomorrow morning, below 43, I'll be in my trade room watching this very closely. Personality is going to be key here. If we see sellers jumping all over it, we know we're getting short. All right. If it gets below 43, it stays right in the middle here, right? Lollygagging in the middle, right? That's right, kids. Don't lollygag. That's a generation a little bit older than us, I think, that terminology. But again, inside of that 43 down to 34.9, right? That's where we have that transitional area. If we blow right through it, we know exactly what we're doing. We're selling short. Once I get below 34.9, though, that's when the blood's in the water. All those buyers here are getting stopped out, and the sellers will jump on here, heading down towards that 23.8. All right, guys? So bullish here in the short term on the Russell. But again, I am keeping my eyes open going into tomorrow here just because there's so many variables up in the air right now with the news coming out of Ukraine, Gaza, Russia. We've got very little Red Star news on the calendar tomorrow. So without much news, all eyes and ears will be on that issue happening at the White House. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But still bullish here on the Russell and looking to buy right as we pull back. And then, of course, if for some reason these buyers just jump all over this stuff, we got targets up top here, 57.3, 60.6, and I got 67.5. So use those as your profit targets here for the buys. Profit targets here for the sells will be at 39.7, 34.9, and 23.8 on the Russell. Again, a lot of this is up in the air right now. So come in and join me tomorrow. I'll tell you exactly what I'm seeing tomorrow morning in real time, and you can make an educated decision on what you're going to be trading right along with me. Alrighty, moving forward here from the Rusty over to the crude. Boy, this crude looks a little bit paralyzed right now, doesn't it? Had a big down day today on crude, but in my opinion, it's putting us right in another scenario here where this could go either direction. Now, looking at this, again, I apologize in last night's newsletter, having my you-know-what in my you-know-where. I had the 814 contract last night in the newsletter. I know, face palm on that one, right? Dope. Well, got it fixed up tonight. 914 contract here on crude. And, of course, you can see here we are, right in the middle of this range. We're above, right? We're above the long-term moving average. But now we just collapsed back below the short-term moving average, right on top of that big round number of 102, right? Those big round numbers are big psychological levels. This 102 has been in our, right? It's been on our radar here for quite some time. You can see here quite a bit of action here happening around this area, right? A lot of stuff happening around this 102, 101, 100 area. But boy, like I said earlier at the beginning of the newsletter, very surprised that we are seeing this price come down, right? Especially with the lingering effects of last week's violence. All right, we have no idea where this is going to go right now, but what I do know here is that when I look at crude oil here on the anchor chart, I can tell right now here these buyers should be buying this. They should be buying this right now. This is a great buying opportunity here on crude. So right now, and if you're in my trade room today, in my trade room we were wondering why we came all the way down and we hadn't seen this pop yet. So again, maybe blame it on the suntan lotion, right? Blame it on the sand in my ears, summertime trading. You know, it's difficult to tell exactly why this is so quiet right now. It's got to be a little dose of analysis paralysis, right? Nobody really knowing what the next step's going to be here on crude, but really back and forth, up and down here this week and last, and settling back here at 102. I'm definitely expecting buyers here at 102. Okay, definitely expecting buyers here at 102. But if these buyers fail, now we have a very interesting scenario, just like we talked about on the Russell. If I get below 102, I'm going to be looking here now for a selling opportunity. The problem is that just like the Russell, we have this kind of transitional area here. Between the 102 and the 101, this could really go either direction here, right, in my humble opinion. And we might get stuck in the mud here around these moving averages if we just kind of sit here like this. So just be aware tomorrow. Tomorrow's an inventory day. Wednesday is inventory day here this week, right? It's 10:30 a.m. inventory tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a second. But again, below 102, really below 101.88, I would expect the sellers to really grab onto this and try to force this thing lower. So I'll be watching for selling opportunities if these buyers don't defend this buy zone here, right? So we're definitely looking good here to be a buyer right now, right? I've been looking for the buy here all day today on crude, and we just never got the jump. It just kept on, right? Kept on kind of methodically ticking lower here throughout the session today. Looking for buyers here right now, right? Looking for buyers here right now. But as you can see, though, below this 101.88, I've got 101.79, 101.48, and another buy zone here at 101.45. So I've got to be very honest. We won't be able to be aggressively selling short until below 100.91. Then I've got the 100.74, 100 even, and then 99.19 on the way down. Of course, 98.03. That's right back to last week's lows here at 98.03. All right. If we don't see these buyers defend these areas here, we are most likely going to go back to 100. How we get there is the challenge. I've got this support level here at 101.45. So we may end up seeing them fail here and then eventually grab it and go back up. Now, what will happen is we have no major news tomorrow outside of the inventory report at 10:30. So all eyes and ears tomorrow for crude traders will be on the inventory report at 10:30 and then any other news from this geopolitical mess we're in right now. So again, we may see this thing collapse here overnight just to have some more news come out tomorrow morning from the geopolitical side and have those buyers step back in again. So I can't just hit the sell button here below 102. But below 101.91, now we're talking, right? Now we're talking. I know this is tough right now, but you've got to remember, we are in some very, very challenging environments right now. We had some excessive violence in the Middle East by accident, right? They shot down the wrong airplane, okay? Nobody's taking responsibility. People think they know what happened. Everything is still up in the air. So once we hear more about that next week or later on this week, that's when we'll finally get a chance here to kind of put that behind us and then place our bets as far as direction goes. So I have to assume there are a lot of crude traders out there right now that are just watching, right? They've got their one eye on the chart, one eye on the news media to see, okay, what's the next leg going to be? I'm going to be very bearish here below 191, but below 102 to 101, I've got a little bit of that transitional area, just like we talked about on the Russell. All right, where really anything could happen at that point. Moving forward here, last but not least, we can see a lot more examples here now of why I said once we get below this 102, again, I would assume the sellers will try to grab this thing and move this thing lower. I've got some symmetry support. We're in a buy zone right now at the low of this bull channel. So again, looking for buyers to enter the market. If these buyers enter the market, I have targets at 102.68, 102.86, 103.12, and 103.27, as well as 103.45 and the top of that bull channel. Right? Those will be great targets for you to the upside right now. If we go lower, once we get below this 101.88, again, this is now where that transitional area was, right, that I marked up on the slower anchor chart. So this is the area where we may still stumble around a little bit, all right? Again, I'm going to be watching my market personality closely tomorrow morning, because if we go higher, that's easy. If we go higher, that's easy. But if we go lower here, that ultimately is going to be easily disrupted by any more geopolitical news. We've got inventories tomorrow morning, which may also cause things to be a little bit sluggish before 10:30. So I'll be very cautious here. If I see it go below that 101.88, right, I will be looking for the sell side with targets at 101.45 and 101.20, 191, 174, 110, and then, of course, drum roll, please. There's your 100 even. So looking short below 101.88, but being careful and being cautious here. Again, keeping my eyes and ears open, listening for more information coming off the news feed. All right, guys? So bearish here on crude below a specific level here of 101.88. And we will continue to listen and learn more about what's happening in the Middle East here, because that will definitely have a big impact on crude going forward. All right, guys? Last but not least here today, taking a look at tomorrow's schedule, we get a relatively empty schedule here in the U.S. session tomorrow morning. As we zoom in on it here, I have a news report tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Right, our good friends down under, they've got their consumer price index this evening at 9:30 p.m. So you've got some important news here coming out at 9:30 p.m. tonight for all of our good friends down under. Tomorrow morning is Wednesday, July 23rd. I have some relatively minor news out of Great Britain. We got the Bank of England's meeting minutes. We've got the distributive trades. Okay, only in Great Britain would there be a news event called the distributive trades, right? What the heck does that mean? Difficult to tell what it means exactly, but we know that we'll be having two major news events tomorrow out of Great Britain, 4:30 and 6 a.m. We then jump down to our good friends to the north, right? The CAD retail sales tomorrow morning. Remember, even though Canadian dollar news is not the biggest news on the sheet, we know that when it's the only news at 8:30, to be watching out for all you natural gas traders out there, crude oil traders, gold, silver, right, things like that. Anything that gets pumped out of the ground or drilled out of the ground, we know that will be affected by news out of Canada. We then have a small event there at 10 o'clock from the EU, the consumer confidence number. We've got the big news tomorrow morning for all you crude traders, 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning for the petroleum status report. We just saw the news come out from the API number tonight. That was another draw in inventories, so inventories continue to fall. Talk about the news for tomorrow, though, real quickly here. 10:30 a.m. tomorrow morning on crude oil. That means that I'm sitting on hands tomorrow from 10:15 until 10:40. I will stop trading before 10:15, and I will wait patiently to see what the personality is and what the direction is tomorrow after 10:40. The hardest part about trading inventories is not doing anything at all. What happens quite often is that the markets get really slippery. Well, not the markets, but the market, right? Crude oil will get very slippery around 10:15. And then remember, usually the first initial reaction to that inventory report at 10:30, usually it's wrong. So if you see at 10:31 tomorrow morning the price jumps up, you'll know to be looking for a short. All right, so just be aware. Keep your eyes and ears open tomorrow morning. Don't forget about the time, all right, because it may be very slow leading up to tomorrow's news report, all right, but if it isn't, we'll be trading it, of course, leading into tomorrow's news report at 10:30. But I will not be touching crude after 10:15 and before 10:40. I'll let it do its thing. I don't care what the news says, all right? Let's be honest, right? There's never been a problem with supply or demand on this planet. All right. Everything that we see on crude is all speculation. It's all hype. It's all fear and greed. Right? The only reason why prices rise and fall on crude, it has nothing to do with reality. It has everything to do with speculation, fear, greed, news media, making you think the world is coming to an end. All right? We've been worrying about crude oil futures for over a century, guys. It's nothing new here. So don't let the news media fool you. Don't beat yourself tomorrow morning. Let that news come out at 10:30. If you're not seeing good price action, if you don't see good personality before 10:30, don't force it. If you need help identifying good or bad personality, you got to come in and see me tomorrow in the trade room. We'll be in the trade room tomorrow morning watching crude in real time. That way we can give you those updates and tell you what we're seeing for tomorrow morning's 10:30 report. So just stay patient tomorrow morning until after 10:40, then find your direction. And remember, the direction is oftentimes the opposite of what actually happened at 10:30. All right? Almost impossible to predict what will happen tomorrow morning on the inventory report. I won't even waste your time or my time. I'll wait for the reaction. Then tomorrow evening, we got a couple big news reports tomorrow evening, 7:50 from Japan. Out of China, we got 9:45 p.m., right? So very, very important. Remember, tomorrow night. We'll talk more about that in tomorrow night's newsletter. All right, guys, we'll see you guys back on Wednesday evening to talk about Wednesday evening's news to worry about. So the big thing right now is we got news tonight out of Australia. We've got news tomorrow morning out of Great Britain. Little teeny tiny one out of the CAD at 8:30. But for most of us in our trade room, we've got a free, pretty much a free reign tomorrow morning, except for crude traders who have to deal with that 10:30 inventory report tomorrow morning. Not a lot of big news on the calendar in the U.S. That tells me that we will probably be lingering around those geopolitical news reports here. That will be on everyone's radar. Before I let you guys go here for this evening, I do want to remind you guys over at sidewaysmarkets.com, we have a plethora. We have one of the most extensive trading blogs on the web. There is no other place like sidewaysmarkets.com on the web, guys. I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and you can see it on our blog. Also, check out our website over here at SchoolOfTrade.com. We offer a free trial. That free trial will give you a special invitation to attend our live trade room. You can also join the free trial and learn all about the different strategies that we trade, get a copy of the track record, right, et cetera, et cetera. And don't forget here, we have 3 levels of membership, as well as someone standing by here to help you guys 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Alrighty? We have celebrated our 10-year anniversary in 2014. I want to thank you so much for being a part of our nightly newsletter here this evening. Don't forget to share this with a friend. And of course, as always, thank you so much for being here tonight. Stick around. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time back in my trade room, or tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for our nightly newsletter. Have a great evening here, boys and girls. Be well, be safe. Stay confident, right? Or stay classy out there, newsletter listeners, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.